Tired of having to stand all throughout your journey while in a bus? We have a smart solution. We present to you the Smart Bus System. Hello everyone, I'm Meghna Manoj Nair, and today on behalf of my team, I'll be walking you through our DBMS project, the Smart Bus System. So before we move on, let's just take a quick look at what the Smart Bus System is. Smart Bus System is a dynamic and responsive website which makes traveling easy and hassle-free for every passenger who would wish to commute by bus. The main motive behind the Smart Bus System is to ensure that the passengers pre-book their tickets before they board the bus. This ensures that the buses aren't overcrowded and also assures the passenger a hassle-free and a comfortable journey. Let's check out how the website works. Head on to our website, thesmartbus.com. You can register or log in. If you're using the website for the very first time, you have to register by filling in few credentials. If you have already registered with us, you can log in directly with the username and password. Once the details have been entered, a validation or an authentication process is carried out, which cross-checks the data which has been entered by the user along with the data which has been stored in the database. If they seem to match and if they have been verified, access is granted to the user. The user is then redirected to the bookings page wherein they are to select the bus they would like to travel on. Once they've booked the ticket, they are then redirected to the payments page wherein they have to fill in the payment option or the mode through which they would like to pay. And if the payment has been done successfully, they will be notified with a receipt which shows successful payment. Now, the programming languages which we have used to make this website highly responsive, easy to use, user-friendly, and dynamic are as follows. For front end, we have used HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. For back end, we have used PHP. The local server which we have been using is XAMPP. The text editors Visual Studio and Atom have been used, and the database we have been using is MySQL. So without further ado, let's check out the website. So before moving on to the website, just one more thing we need to keep in mind. We need to start running our local server. So I'm using XAMPP over here, and I've also started running Apache and MySQL. So now I can move on to my website, which I'll be hosting through localhost for the time being. I've basically saved all the HTML, PHP, and CSS files which contains the code for this website in a folder called SmartBus. And this SmartBus folder has been saved inside another folder called htdocs inside XAMPP. So now I'm going to type in the URL for the website. So it's localhost slash the name of the folder SmartBus slash the name of the very first HTML page which I'd like to visit. So now I'm going to hit enter. And this takes us to the very first introduction page, a bit of graphics and effects, and this automatically redirects us to the home page. So welcome to SmartBus, fast track your life, and now let's sign in. So when I click on sign in, this is where it takes us to. So if you're an already registered user, you can fill in the username and password and click on login. But I'm going to take you through the register page as well. So let's assume that I'm using the website for the very first time. So I'll have to fill in a username, an email, the password, and confirm password. So let's see what happens if I don't fill anything and click on register. It notifies us saying that all of these fields are required. So let's say username as student3, email, I'm going to give this as my email ID, password say 1234, and for confirm password, if I click 123 and hit register, it's going to say that the two passwords do not match. So I'll have to give the same password again. All right. So yes, I've registered successfully, and since I'm registering for the first time, it's automatically logged me in as well. So now this is the bookings page, and I can choose any of the buses which I like as per my convenience of time and the price. So basically this table gives us details about the bus ID, the pickup point, the drop-off point, the start time, the end time, the price, and the book tickets option. So let's choose this bus which moves from Lajpat Nagar to Ghaziabad. So I'm going to click on book tickets, and it then redirects you to the payment page. So in the payment page, I have two options for the mode of payment, that is cash or credit card. So I can choose any one, but for now I'm going to choose credit card. And since I've chosen credit card, I have to fill in these details. So card number, I'm going to give a random one. Then CVV number 123, the date of expiry, let's say, okay. And reset now basically resets all these values to clear, and I have to fill it in again. It's basically for anyone if they've created a mistake while filling in the details, they can always click on the reset button and do it again. And now I'm going to click submit. So yes, the payment was done successfully and the booking has been confirmed. So I can just take a screenshot of this receipt to show the authorized personnel while boarding the bus. And now since I'm done with booking the tickets, I can return home. And let's see what's in the About Us page. Okay, so this just gives another HTML page with a small description of our website. So that's it. This is our DBMS project, the Smart Bus system. As you would have seen, it's very easy to use, user friendly, and extremely responsive. And it's not like any other existing online booking platform. It's something which is highly interactive, and you can finish booking your ticket within just a few steps. Let's just check if the validation or the authentication process, which I had mentioned about earlier, actually works or not. So while registering, I had registered with a username of student3 and a password of 1234. Let's check what happens if I enter a different password this time. So student3, I'm going to log in because I've already registered. So let's say 123 is the password. When I click on login, it says wrong username or password. Now what if I give in the correct details? So student3 and password is 1234, login. Yes, so that validation has worked. So what basically happens in the background is every time I enter the login credentials, that's the username and the password, it immediately takes those values and cross verifies them with the details which have been stored in the table in my database in MySQL. What we just saw was the front end of our website. Let's see what exactly happens at the back end. So I've opened PHP My Admin, through which I'll be able to access the database and the tables which I've created. So I've created the database called registration, under which there's a table called users. So this database basically helps me to keep a track of all the users who are registering newly. Now, recently when I operated with the registered or HTML page, I had registered with the username of student3, this particular email ID, and a password of 1234. So each time I register with a valid username, email ID, and password, those values are getting updated as new records in my table called users under the database of registration. And when you see the passwords column here, it's a really weird long number. This is because for the purpose of safety and security, I have encrypted the password by hashing it so that even if anybody else accesses this database and would like to tamper it, they won't be able to access the password, because if they get the password, they'll be able to hack into the account and change a lot of things. So since they won't be able to get the password, they won't be able to do that. So for the purpose of safety and security, I've encrypted the password by hashing it. We will now go through the code which we have used for the creation of this project in a very brief form. So all the HTML, PHP and CSS files related to this project have been saved under a separate folder called Smart Bus. And I'll just take you through the main code which deals with a lot of SQL queries and connections with the database and so on. All of those codes have been saved in a file called server.php. So as you can see, the very first statement is session start. It's a function which helps in connecting the server and getting all the things running in the background. We've initialized a few variables in order to retrieve the values from the forms which are being filled in by the user. And we've also created an array called as errors in order to push and pull all the error messages which were displayed each time the user or the passenger tries to enter something wrong into the form. The next statement is the most important one. It's the statement which is used for connecting to the database. And the database we have used here is named as registration, and we've made use of the function called MySQLi connect. Now the next piece of code basically deals with retrieving the values which have been entered by the user in the registration form. And once that is done, the next step is to check if all the fields in the registration form have been filled or not. This is to ensure that none of the fields are left empty, and this has been done with a number of if statements. And in the case of the user leaving a text field empty, then immediately the error message is pushed from the array called as errors. Now you can see we have also used another SQL query. This is mainly used for ensuring that a user with the same username or email ID does not exist. So if I've already registered once, I cannot register again with the very same username or email ID. So if a person does that, then it will again display an error message. And then we have the final bit of code which basically checks if everything has been filled in correctly, then all the details will be retrieved and stored in the database as required. So a successful insertion of records with the username, email ID and a hashed password will be completed. And this is the statement which I've used for encrypting or hashing the password for safety and security reasons. And this bit of code deals with logging in the user. So once I've registered and the next time I visit the website, I can directly log in. So this query here is the SQL query which cross verifies the username and password entered by the passenger in the login form with the username and password which has been stored in the database. So only if the two matches, then will they be taken to the bookings page.html, else they will be alerted with an error message which says wrong username or password. This officially brings us to the end of this project tour. However, we as a team will continue to work hard and enhance this project with better features in order to serve the society. Thank you.